Ferguson, Missouri, under a state of emergency. Another day of protest turning violent. The city on edge once again as demonstrators clash with law enforcement. Police say that they battled bricks, rocks, even frozen water bottles being hurled their way. The St. Louis County Police sent out this unnerving message in a tweet last night saying safety, our top priority, is now compromised. This is no longer a peaceful protest. Participants are now unlawfully assembled. Joining me from Ferguson to discuss the latest there, Chris King, the editorial director for the newspaper there, the St. Louis American. Chris, thank you so much for coming in. Thankfully, the clashes last night did not end in gunfire like the nights prior. What do you think made the difference last night?
Well, the clash Sunday night did not end in gunfire. The botched sale of a looted television ended in gunfire, and the people buying and selling the looted television met at the protest. So I don't accept the premise that that was a protest-related shooting. Last night, no one shot each other on the fringes of the protest.
What do you think made the difference last night? That it seemed to be, while there were clashes and things thrown at police and there were arrests made, that it seemed less violent than the nights prior.
Well, we're talking about street protests that draw crowds, and if they go late, they draw late-night crowds. And there are there's a lot of gun violence in this region. There are a lot of people on the streets who have bad motives, and some of them sometimes drift to protests and cause trouble, and other nights they don't. It looks like last night none of the real troublemakers put the protest on their agenda for the night.
One thing that seemed different last night was among the crowd there were these heavily armed members of a controversial patriot group known as the Oath Keepers. The St. Louis County Police Chief, he called their presence amongst the protesters unnecessary and inflammatory. Did you see them there? Why were they there, and what were they doing?
Well, they're intimidating the protesters. They open carry assault rifles, which is their Second Amendment protected right, and Missouri has really liberal open carry laws. But the Oath Keepers are really at the center of the debate of the Black Lives Matter movement if you look at them properly. Because what you have here is a case of implicit bias and threat assessment. You have law enforcement officers looking at these conservative middle-aged white men with assault rifles and not assessing them as a threat, because they see them as like them, they like guns, and they're not going to shoot anybody unless they have a good reason to. These same law enforcement officers consistently look at 15 to 25-year-old African Americans with cell phones or bottles of fragrance and assume they're carrying handguns when they're actually carrying cell phones or bottles of fragrance. So if we could look at the way cops assess the threat of Oath Keepers rationally and get them to assess the threat of young African Americans as rationally, if we could actually get law enforcement to make those decisions the same for those two categories of people, we could actually get somewhere with this movement.
Chris, that speaks to something that you've been talking about all along. You've said that there is still a very long way to go in terms of repairing damage in the community following Michael Brown's death and the criticism that the police department really faced following that and since then. How do you think the department, as it stands now, can go about regaining the trust that it clearly lost in the community?
The city of Ferguson should disband its 50-member police department. They should contract with the St. Louis County Police Department. They contract with another police agency. The biggest and most professional agency in the county is the St. Louis County Police Department. This is a flawed police department, but it's a professional and internationally accredited police department. I would like to see many of these municipal police departments consolidate, contract with the county, and then let's put all of our efforts into reforming the county. And by the way, Chief Belmer invited the DOJ's COPS program into the St. Louis County Police Department for a collaborative review. He's shown he's willing to improve his police department. I personally believe, I've come to believe he's sincere. So if we were talking about the St. Louis County Police Department, instead of this 50-member Ferguson Police Department, they're going to spend $2 or $3 million a year to monitor a consent decree to improve a department of 50 people. It's a waste of money. It's a waste of effort. We shouldn't be talking about the Ferguson Police Department.
They continue to be at the center of this, and we'll see what another night brings. An uneasy calm there right now in Ferguson. Chris King, thank you. Coming up for us, is Rick Perry's campaign in serious trouble?